This is the American Revolution Mediation PowerPoint. New political ideas about the relationship between people and their government will help to justify the Declaration of Independence. These ideas come from a major source, John Locke. He was an Enlightenment philosopher. He will write about the ideas of natural rights. The power resides with the people. The power of the government comes from the consent of the governed, that our governments are limited, and that popular sovereignty will be used to challenge old practices. The idea of popular sovereignty is one of the power with the people, or people voting is usually the best idea or way to think of popular sovereignty. As we approach the revolution, a man named Thomas Paine will write a pamphlet called Common Sense. In it, he will outline some of the grievances that the Americans will have against the British Crown and Parliament. In this, he challenges British rule of the American colonies. He also helped inspire people to fight for American independence. The foundations for today will be laid out in our American Revolution. These revolutionary leaders will formulate political philosophy and lay the institutional foundation for the system of government which we as Americans live under today. When Thomas Jefferson writes the Declaration of Independence, he will state that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. He will continue by saying that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their powers from the consent of the governed. In other words, the power resides with the people, and that those that govern can only do so with the consent of those being governed. He continues to say that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute a new government. In other words, we need to vote those people out if we are not happy with the way they are currently running the system. Thomas Jefferson will use the Declaration of Independence to reflect the ideas of John Locke, and the grievances he uses would have been listed by Thomas Paine in Common Sense. He drew many documents when writing this Declaration of Independence. Will create many lasting effects. The American Revolution was inspired by ideas concerning natural rights and political authority, and its successful completion affected people and governments throughout the world for many generations, not just here in America, but revolutions that will occur throughout history since this time period. So why does it all matter? Well, the Declaration of Independence will increase political participation, the equality that Jefferson spoke of. It extends voting rights. It will eventually uphold due process, and we will also see the advent of free public education. The Declaration of Independence talked about liberty, and that is social participation. Eventually, we'll use the Declaration to point to the end of slavery and to extend civil rights to women and other people here in the United States. The idea of the pursuit of happiness and economic participation, the free enterprise system, economic opportunity, and to protect property rights as we go through our history here in America. The ideas of the Enlightenment and the perceived unfairness of British policies will provoke the debate and resistance by the American colonists. At the conclusion of the French and Indian War, a war in which we will see the French leaving what we know as the United States of America, the British will take several actions that will then anger American colonists and will lead to the American Revolution. One of these will be the issuing of the Proclamation of 1763. You look at the map, it's the red line to the right of your screen. It will forbid American colonists to continue out into what is labeled Indian territory, despite the fact that that was British territory. This will anger American colonists who were in search of new land. They will also pass new taxes. One of the most notorious will be that of the Stamp Act, which will tax all legal documents, anything that is paper. We will also begin to see taxes on tea, sugar, that will help pay for the costs that were incurred during the French and Indian War, that will help pay for the British troops that were stationed here to protect us. We will then begin to see several conflicts between American colonists and the British Army. Well, the first of these will be the Boston Massacre in 1770, the Boston Tea Party, with its famous Sons of Liberty dumping tea into the harbor in Boston, which is quickly followed by the coercive acts that the British government will place upon Boston and the American colonies. As a result of these acts, the Americans will get together for the one of the first times where all colonists will come together. This is called the First Continental Congress. It will occur in 1774. They decide that they should meet again in May of 1775. However, before that happens, in April of 1775, British troops will set out from Boston in search of ammunition and weapons. They will first come to Lexington and then Concord. The American colonists knew that the British regulars were be coming because of the rise of Paul Revere and William Dawes. As a result, Minutemen will be waiting for the British troops in these cities, and we will see the beginning of the American Revolution at Lexington and Concord. The colonists will begin to divide into three different camps. First will be the Patriots, or those who wanted American freedom. Chief among these will be Patrick Henry, who gives the now famous saying, "Give me liberty or give me death." There were those who were loyalists. They believed that the taxation was justified to pay for the protection that the British offered us during the French and Indian War. They are often known as Tories. And there will be a third group called neutrals who tried the best they could to stay out of the conflict between the Patriots and the Loyalists. In the end, the American rebels will win their independence because the British government grows tired of the struggles, the losing of troops, and the money that it's taking to fight the American rebels. And with the French aid on the American side, it will come to an American victory in the end. George Washington will be the general of the American army. He was very good at avoiding situations that threaten the destruction of his army. Time and time again, his leadership will keep the army from being defeated when it seemed inevitable that they would be captured and crushed. One of the key moments in the American Revolution occurs after the victory at Saratoga. This will allow Ben Franklin to negotiate a treaty of alliance with the French. In this treaty, the French will send us an army, a navy, and will give us a certain amount of money. This came at a time when the war is becoming very unpopular in England, and thus the French helping out the Americans will be another push toward British people wanting to get out of the war. In the end, the Americans will defeat the British army at Yorktown. They do this with the assistance of the French army, and in particular the French Navy, who will blockade the Chesapeake Bay and not allow Cornwallis to be able to escape on British ships. This marks the end of the American Revolution.